I would go to work and the sun would come up and I'd watch it go back down in the skylights.
Damn.
You know, but I just was like, I got to get there. One day I was just like sitting there on the computer. I was like, let me see what these Nike jobs are talking about. And I saw a job for janitor. And I was just like at the world headquarters and I was like, I've been having to do housework my whole life. I think I could clean the little buildings here and there. You know, I said I had to do housework before I could leave the house, before I could do anything. I could clean a little building.
Yeah.
You know, ain't nobody meaner than my mom, you know, or like more strict, I guess I should say, than my mom.
And they're going to pay you more than
And they're going to pay, man. I remember one time I asked for an allowance. My mom said, what?
What?
Yeah.
Pick your shit up.
Yeah, for real. So, you know, and that's how I got in. That's how I really got into Nike, was that janitor job.
What if coffee was a vessel for caffeine and community? What if the mochas had Air Maxes and Jordan 1s, cinnamon sprinkled atop the foam? Ian Williams has made Deadstock Coffee about much more than just espresso shots and cold brew laced with alternative milk. He's made it about the people. Why, you might ask? Because coffee should be dope. I hope you enjoy this episode of B-Scar TV with our very special guest, Ian Williams.
Welcome.
I appreciate it, man.
Welcome to B-Scar TV. I want to start by saying thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. We took a little bit of a hiatus from season 2 to season 3. Season 2 wrapped up somewhere in like January, February-ish. And then a lot changed in my life, you know, coming back home to Portland officially and trying to figure out, you know, what's next and all these things. And what does B-Scar TV become? We're talking about like, do we rebrand it? You know, who's coming on as guests, et cetera, et cetera. And we finally were like, fuck it, man. Let's just go and do it. Let's start having some really high quality conversations. And we know that the conversations are all the intention is to help to inspire people who listen or watch. And so when we made the decision, like, all right, let's get it started, start reaching out to people. You were the first text I sent off.
For real? Yeah, that's crazy.
The first
I was like, okay.
Yeah. Immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
Man, I appreciate you having me, man.
Yeah. It's good to be able to actually get the process started. And so since the show really is about inspiring, our slogan is inspiration for lifestyle innovation through high quality conversation.
Man, my bad. I didn't know you was out here TIing.
Yeah, it's a bar. It's a bar. So I want to the first question, what inspires you? Or just thinking about like recently or maybe timelessly, what has been a source of inspiration for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on here, man. Thank you for sending the stuff that you had done in the past. I didn't realize that you were doing this for so long.
Yeah.
You know, with players and stuff like that. That's really cool. So it's for me, it's cool I was gonna do it anyway, but it's even cooler to know that I get to be a part of the lineage that you've already created. So I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.
What inspires me? Honestly, it's people and people potential. Yeah. It sounds like super corny.
Okay.
But it really is just like, I really want people to understand that they can do great things, whether it be actually like grandiose great things or just like things that make them happy.
Yeah.
Right? Like whenever we do events and stuff like that, or just in the past, just like talking about whatever events or parties or, you know, brand stuff or whatever, when you talk about success, like you actually mentioned it. I believe, maybe I'm assuming this is what I heard, but I feel like you mentioned it in your speech when we were at your retirement party. And it was a conversation about success and what did success mean.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm alluding to what I think I heard, but you know, like, is it that you did it? Is it that you won? Is it that you accomplished great things? Like,
right.
To you, what is success?
How do you define it?
How do you define it, right? And so as long as you're able to say for yourself that you were successful in whatever it is that you're doing, if you throw a party and you have 5 people there and you wanted 3, it's booming. If you threw a party and you had
No, facts.
500, you know, and you wanted 1,000, you're gonna be like, this party sucks.
Yeah.
Right. So like, what is it? What does success mean for you? And so I think, you know, just helping people understand and reach their full potential so that they can figure out what success is for them.
Right. Helping them define their success.
Yeah.
And then is that something that you've kind of like integrated into your process from a day to day? You know, because I think about like things for me that give me inspiration, you know, like sometimes I realize that I've gone for too long without, you know, going to like dip into that well of inspiration. Like I get inspiration from watching docuseries. Like when I'm on the plane is really when I'll like sit down and just watch you know, Notorious with Conor McGregor or the Defiant Ones.
Okay.
Right, with Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine. And then, but sometimes if I don't fly for 3 months, 4 months, I'm like, damn, that's not like in my process to download inspiration.
Yeah.
So I'm curious for you, like, how have you like integrated that working with people and helping them define their success? How have you integrated that into your process?
I think it's just part of what I was gonna do anyway. Right. So it's not necessarily that I there are times where I have to go out and seek it, like you were just talking about. Excuse me. But there is the times where I'm just sitting there and it happens in front of me.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't even mean it, but you know, we're opening second location soon, Deadstock, and
Yeah. Beaverton, right?
Beaverton, man, out here.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And we're hiring new people, right? And as we hire, we have to be strategic, right? We're sneakers and coffee, so we need some sneaker people, but we also need some coffee people in order to be functional and to be able to hit the ground running, right? Like, I know that I'm gonna be there a lot. I don't really want to be working a lot.
Yeah.
You know, so do we have a good enough core? How do we also take care of our old core and make sure that they don't have to just be chilling in Old Town?
Yeah.
Right? Because like Old Town out here is it's a drag sometimes, right?
Right.
But we also need the new people to go there. So I'm like thinking of like, what is success for the old team? What is success for the new team?
Right.
What is success for me? What does it look like for, you know, our leadership? What does money look like? We got to make money.
Right.
Right. Like, so what does all those kind of things look like? But while we were sitting there and we decided our icebreaker for the new team, one question that we asked everybody in the interview is, what is your favorite cookie? So we asked about what your clothes are, what song are you going to play on your first day if you get the job, you know, that kind of stuff.
That's
Like,
the
what's your favorite? Yeah. So, but like, what's your favorite cookie? You know, and you know, people it gets personal, right? Like if you tell me about your fit, you're going to think I'm judging you because that's what we do. Right. If I ask you what song you're going to play, you're going to think I'm judging you because atmosphere is what we do.
Right.
But the cookie ain't got nothing to do with us.
Right.
Right. It has everything to do with you. And so we had everybody go around when we were going through our training. That was yesterday or Monday and Tuesday, a couple days ago. And we had everybody explain their cookie.
Yeah.
Like you all had to answer it. Now you tell everybody else. But the other thing we did was we played Uno.
Played Uno.
Yeah. And it was like, I want to see, it gets very personal, right? And so like, I want to see who's yelling, who's quiet,
Right.
who's teaming up on who, right?
Yeah.
I want to know. And so like, but while that was happening, I'm looking at the team and I'm like, you are going to mentor this person. You are going to be great at this thing. We need you over here.
Wow.
And so like, even while we're playing, I'm like, okay.
Oh, that's beautiful,
okay.
man.
Okay. Right. And so like, I didn't mean for that to happen, but while it was happening, like my goal was to get the personality out of people and to get everybody to see each other's personality in the room.
Right.
But while that was all going on, I was like, I can see already how this needs to play. I need you in Chinatown. You down to fight a little bit.
Right.
Right. I need you over here. You're soft spoken, but you're going to get the work done, you know? And so it's been pretty cool. That's a long-winded answer to your question.
No, I think that hit it on the nose, bro.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you get inspiration from working with people and helping people define their success. But actually, if you're working with those people, if you can help them define their success, it actually leads to success for Deadstock and for Ian Williams, right? Which then that's part of your like North Star, how you've defined it. And so actually the whole piece is like a complete like circle of inspiration for you, it sounds like, because you're building around and through people.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
It's been 10 years, man. I did my digging.
Yeah. It's been going on 10 years,
bro.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. Officially.
You said that, I was like, yeah, you're the first person to bring it up, actually. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know, like, I had loosely understand you left Nike, which I want to get into that story, but you left Nike in like 2014.
Yep.
Deadstock officially came into life, was born in 2015. So we're looking at like either that 10-year anniversary officially is coming up.
Yeah. February. Yeah. Yeah. It's coming up, man.
Wow.
Well, I guess technically March for 10 years because I started Inside Compound in March of 2015. And then we opened,
got you.
Yeah. And then we opened in the cafe February 2016. So if we're talking about 10 years, it's technically March. Yeah.
Technically March.
Yeah.
Damn. So 10 years in business for yourself.
Yeah.
Building your dream.
Yeah.
Can you describe how it feels?
Man, it's the coolest, tightest, dopest, most brokest, loneliest thing you could get, bro.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot packaged into one.
And man, like your success is yours, and then sometimes you look at it, you be like, man, this is only me, right? And so it's really great. I'm fortunate that I had the opportunity to have a corporate career.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to do some corporate stuff enough to understand that I actually, my whole life, I wanted to be my own boss.
Yeah.
I learned later on in life, I think I was like 33. I started Deadstock when I was 27. I learned later on that my dad passed when I was really young, that he also was an entrepreneur, had restaurants. I just thought my dad was a chef. I didn't know.
Wow.
Right. And so one day my brother my brother's 11 years older than me. And one day my brother was like, man, you just like your dad. And I was like, oh, okay, how? And he was like, oh, you didn't know the restaurants and stuff? He owned all those. And I was like, what?
Bro, when did you find this out?
I was 33. And so, it was, my mom and dad weren't together when I was growing up. And so, there's dynamics there, right? And so I only got to see him every once in a while. But from when I was younger, I would go with my brother. I looked at my brother like my dad. I would go with him. He loved to skate. So I'll go with him to skate shops, to the skate park, whatever underground hip hop shows him and his friends were doing or throwing or digging in crates for records or whatever. And so much of it, I just like my whole life, I've always been like, I want to open a record store. I want to open up a skate shop. I want to open, because I saw what was happening to people in these places, right? Like, how in the world, when I'm 8 years old, 10 years old, whatever, I don't want to be in the record shop. But I'm like, why do they like the record shop so much? What does this record shop even mean?
Yeah,
right. And so after a while, I just learned to just like, hey, just sit back and observe. Right. And so from there, I just always had the feeling to do something myself. But then I was a sneaker head. Yeah. Right. And I want to get paid to do shoe stuff. So I looked for opportunity in the industry. I was able to land one or a few so that I could like get paid to do sneaker stuff. But then even the whole time I was there, I was like, I think I got to get out of here though.
Yeah. Right.
And so it was like a means to an end, but I don't even know what the end is yet. But I know that the end is out there. And to be honest, even right now, I'm still not at the end. Yeah. I could easily go back to corporate world tomorrow. I have a different appreciation for it now. Right? Steady paychecks. So you know what I'm saying? Like health insurance. Right. Somebody else's responsibility, right? Like it's that kind of stuff that you just take for granted when you show up to work and you're like, man, this place suck. Yeah. I'm like, man, I'd love to go back to work. Yeah. Did something happen? Boss say something to me? I'm like, bro, it's whatever. Right. You're not gonna mess up my joy right now, And so it's different.
Yeah. And when you stepped into corporate, that was at Nike, correct? Like, was that your arrival to Portland or to Oregon? Was to come for that job?
Man, my phone is buzzing. Oh, come on. This how do you know you get it to like
you gotta-
silence?
If you got to take that, man.
Yeah,
you're
let
the
me
boss.
catch it real quick.
You're the boss.
Yeah.
man.
Oh, I'm over here taking screenshots in my pocket. We back, baby.
So
Yeah, I
before
was-
we cut to that commercial break,
Yeah.
talking about the responsibilities
commercials.
of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And somebody was calling, you had to take the call.
Man, yeah. That's the entrepreneur.
There we go.
Responsibility. Yeah.
But no, so you got to Oregon by way of coming to Nike.
No, we moved to Oregon when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
96, yeah.
Gotcha.
My brother, who's older, like I was saying, got a job at Intel out of college. And when my brother moved to Oregon, he moved to Aloha specifically. Back when Intel had like 2 campuses, now they got like 8 or 10 or something like that. He moved when he was, I believe, 19 years old out of tech school.
Is he an engineer?
He does a lot of engineering. So he's like in his mind and in his abilities, he's 100% an engineer.
I mean, yeah. 25 years ago,
Yeah.
like man in engineering,
Man.
at Intel, he was one of a very few.
Yeah. And he was in the fab, right? So he was like putting the pieces together yeah.
Oh, wow, bro.
And so he got that job at Intel. He moved here in 95. My dad passed the beginning of 96. And if I, just looking at it mathematically, that was probably the one thing that was really keeping us there was that my mom and dad had joint custody. When my dad passed, my mom just decided that we would all move. And
Okay.
so we
And
moved.
follow your brother.
So we all moved out here, and I moved first. So at first it was just me and my brother, because I had to go to school. So my dad passed that February. We moved, and I was here in August, and then my mom and I have a sister who's older than our sister is the oldest.
Okay.
My mom and my sister had 2 kids, then drove all the stuff to Portland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a U-Haul.
Damn.
Yeah.
From all the way over the East Coast.
Newport News, yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you get here in 96, and then when you stepped into corporate and when you stepped into the workplace, you started at Nike, right? But how did that happen?
Yeah. So before all that, I was working, I think early on, I'm heavily inspired by Allen Iverson.
Okay.
So I'm from Newport News. He's from a city called Hampton, right next to it.
The answer.
The answer. And then my mom's side of the family's from Philly. He went and played for the Sixers.
Right.
So everything for me was just like that whole like family dynamic. Yeah. But he was, I remember watching him on the news or whatever playing when he was playing football and basketball in high school. So,
Oh, wow.
So my mom's a drug and alcohol counselor. He had a lot of stuff going on back then when he was younger and even like through his career.
Yep.
So mom was always like, that's a terrible role model.
Right.
But I'm just like, here's a person who is doing everything that he loves the way that he wants to do it. And is very good at it.
Yeah.
Right.
Man,
and so
swag was crazy.
Right. Insane. So like from that, I'm starting to love basketball. I'm like 8, 9, 10 years old. I'm starting to understand that like I really like basketball a lot. Also, like I see these people in the city with these sneakers on. Right. And so we're not gonna talk about how they maybe got them, but like I see people with the shoes on. I see his swag. I see what's going on around me. And so I just was into sneakers.
It's like the record store and being with your brother.
Well, so like,
exposed to these.
so that was all like 8, 9, 10 years old.
Right.
We moved to Portland. We moved to out here, like Portland, Hillsborough area. And then hanging out with my brother really starts to get deeper because it's just he and I.
Right.
Right. And looking back, my brother's 20, 21 years old, taking care of his 10-year-old brother. My brother was responsible for me going to school. He was responsible for me being in the right district. Right. And so that's a lot. And he works nights. Right. So like, that's a lot of stuff going on. So anyway, all that to say, like, I just understood that my inspiration, it was always like, I want to do whatever makes me happy for work.
Yeah.
So I used to teach go-kart racing. I used to teach kids how to race go-karts. I worked at the Nike employee store. I worked at Best Buy because I like to sell things. Good. And I thought that cameras and car stereos were cool. So I worked at Best Buy while I was in high school playing basketball so I could afford my basketball shoes.
Right.
I wanted a pair of Nike ID, custom shocks.
Okay.
So like I gotta get my money, right? So
Do you have your initials on them?
absolutely, man. Listen, I have my little number.
IW?
I have my, come on, man. Back then I was really like, I was a big Iverson fan, but this is like 2001.
Okay.
Right? So this is like peak Sixers going to the playoffs,
Right.
about to play the Lakers. And unfortunately, I'm the shortest guy on the team, one of the shortest guys on the team, but I'm the biggest. So they had me playing post.
Yeah.
So I'm in there, knocking around with the big dudes. Yeah, exactly, dog. And so all the homies started calling me. That was the era when Mutombo went to the Sixers.
Okay.
So all the homies calling me E-Tumbo. So you know what I'm saying? And like when you're playing at that level, the jersey number you get, the smallest is the low number. I can't have a 3. Right? That's Iverson.
What they give you, bro?
So I got the 55. That's Mutombo. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in there just, So, just my whole life, basketball's always in my life, right? In some sort of way. And I'm really enjoying, like, I just realized I just want to do shoe stuff. So my little jobs I was doing here and there, answering phones, detailing cars. I like cars. I love Escalades. So I worked at the Cadillac dealership so I could drive them all day.
Oh, wow.
I was a lot attendant, right? And then I sold cars. I detailed cars. Like, bro, I did everything I did. I was like, I like an element of this, so I want to go do that.
Damn.
Right? And then I found that job. I was lucky. Landed a position at the employee store. Got let go after the season was over because I got into one of the managers because he was doing some weird, shady, you too old to be hanging around these young girls thing, and I called him out on it, and I got let go.
Wow.
And
Say a position at the employee store, like, what do you mean?
I was like a sales associate, just like,
At the counter.
register, shelves, that kind of stuff. So I was like seasonal hire.
Okay.
For 05 for the, just like Christmas. And then got let go. They told me I was going to be there full time. They let me go for all that stuff I was just talking about.
Right.
But then I was like, oh, this is where I need to be, right? People are coming in. I met the guy who flies the Nike jets.
Okay.
I'm meeting athletes.
Right.
I got to meet Mutombo.
Oh, wow.
Rest in peace. Like I got to meet him there and tell him like, man, you inspired me in basketball, but also my mom is in love with you. And he's like, oh, I'm very flattered.
Right.
And like I meet him, he's like looking through. He had twin daughters.
Okay.
And so he's like looking for little girl dresses.
Wow.
Right, holding the dresses up, and I'm like, this is insane.
His
Like,
hands are bigger.
bro, his hands is his hand is this big, right? Like, and so
Did you tell him your name?
I did. I think I did. Like,
Tell me.
yeah, bro. I think I told him like I played post. I wore a 55, and he was like, oh. I was like, my life is complete. And so I just, for like from all that, I just was like, I gotta get inside. I gotta get further.
Yeah.
Right? Like there was my homie Keith Kunis. He's actually from Portland. He was a customizer for a long time, sneaker customizer, but Keith was one of the first people I met. Like I knew everything that was in East Bay.
Yeah.
And at Foot Action, because Foot Action was the urban store. So they carried the Iverson. So like I knew everything from then. But when I got into the employee store, I met Keith, and Keith was like, oh, there's so much more, right? And I knew about skate shops too. I knew that there were SBs, but I didn't understand that SBs were rare. I just knew about SBs because I go to the skate shop with my brother.
Got you.
Right? So from there, I just was like, I gotta make it.
Yeah.
Got let go, worked at IHM. That's the place where they make the airbags next to the employee store.
Okay.
I was there for a couple months and was like, ain't nobody gonna discover me here.
The airbags, like in the Air Maxes?
Yeah.
Wow.
So majority of them had been made for many, many years, like decades, to protect intellectual property in America, and then they get shipped to Asia.
Okay. Oh,
So yeah,
Gotcha.
So they get made here, they get shipped to Asia, the shoes get assembled and sent back here to Wilsonville for distribution.
yeah.
But I did that for I was there for like 3-4 months, 5:30 a.m., 5:30 p.m. Like that was my shift, 3 days a week, 3 on, 4 off, 4 on, 3 off.
Wow.
During the NFL season. So I'm a big Eagles fan.
Yeah.
I miss all the Eagles games. I get to watch like 20 minutes on my lunch break. So I'm missing all the games. I'm just like, I would go to work and the sun would come up and I'll watch it go back down in the skylights.
Damn.
You know, but I just was like, I got to get there.
Yeah.
One day I was just like sitting there on the computer. I was like, let me see what these Nike jobs are talking about. And I saw a job for a janitor. And I was just like at the world headquarters, and I was like, I've been having to do housework my whole life. I think I could clean the little buildings here and there. You know what I'm saying? I had to do housework before I could leave the house, before I could do anything. I could clean a little building.
Yeah.
You know, ain't nobody meaner than my mom, you know? Or like more strict, I guess I should say, than my
They're
mom.
gonna pay you more than.
And they gonna pay, man. I remember one time I asked for an allowance. My mom said, what?
What?
Yeah.
Pick your shit up.
Yeah, for real. So, you know, and that's how I got in. That's how I really got into Nike, was that janitor job.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got on campus as a janitor. That was the way you stepped into campus.
Yeah.
When you say janitor, like mopping the floor.
Bro, I literally called it my doo-doo days. Like those are all I did. I was cleaning up. Bro, there was a person in the women's restroom that used to come in every day. I had that job for 3 years. And at this point, I had cleaned this area they call neighborhoods. I cleaned this neighborhood for probably 9 months, maybe a year. And there's a person who used to come in every day. And it must have been, I cleaned the bathroom at 7. I would go to my lunch break, which, you know, I started work in the evening. So I'll go to my break, would go in and like start to like spray and like disinfect the bathrooms, mainly the men's, and there's a men's and women's. And then I'll clean that one about 8:30. I'll be there to clean the women's one. Every day somebody, I don't know if they stood on the toilet or whatever, but it was dookie splatter all over the wall, bro. Every day.
Every day.
In the women's restroom, same stall,
Like
every day, like clockwork, bro. And it was like just dry enough to where like some of it was still wet, bro. I'm telling you, every day.
Did you ever catch the culprit?
Yes, bro, I did one time. I did, bro.
Look at her so crazy.
Yes, bro, I could tell what she like. When it was I would go in the bathroom and there was nothing on the wall, I was like, oh, she's traveling. She's out of town, right? Like, bro, I'm telling you, every day.
That's great.
Bro, every day. I hope that it's stressing enough that it was every day.
Yeah, no.
Right? Like, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
And one day I do the men's bathroom first. You prop the door open, I put the cart in the bathroom door so nobody would be able to go in, right? So I'm cleaning the men's, and then right before I mop the men's restroom, I can hear that nothing is happening in the women's. It's just like across the way. So then I'll prop the women's bathroom door open, put the cart in the door, go in, spray everything down.
Yeah.
Right? So this day, I went in to spray everything down.
Yeah.
Nothing on the wall.
Oh.
I'm like, oh, she out of town.
She's traveling.
She traveled, right? So I'm like, and bro, I'm telling you, that, I mean, this is when we really learn as men that a lot of times, like, you know, every month, ladies go through some stuff. We don't ever have to worry about that. So as men, we should be very thankful. But like, when you work together, they really does sync up.
Wow.
So the little garbage things in the women's restroom, they will be empty. And then for like a week and a half straight, all full.
Oh, wow.
Bro, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's like, I learned so much in this job, bro. Like, and so,
Sure.
and I go in, right? And every once in a while, somebody will move the cart out of the way to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
So like, the person pushes the cart out of the way, it's whatever, right? And I get ready to go back in. This person walks out the bathroom, like, hey, sorry. I'm like, oh, it's all good, don't worry about it. I go in.
But you don't know at that point.
I don't know at that point.
Right.
I don't know at that point. The person goes there, like they leave. You know, it's like, it's kind of embarrassing anytime you're like, oh, my bad, I had to go to the bathroom real quick, you know, and somebody's like standing there looking at you, waiting to clean it, whatever. I go in.
Damn.
Fresh, juicy, splattered on the wall dookie, bro. I was like, bro, I did, you know, the no, like on the knees, the rain, bro, everything that you could think of. Yeah. And I think I want to say that day I texted one of my mentors and was like, he knew I was trying to get into Nike, footwear design legend, guy named E. Scott Morris. And he mentored me for a long time. I would probably say he still mentors me.
Yeah.
Even if I don't talk to him, you know, like I see something he's doing, I'm like, man, there go E. Scott again, man. E. Scottin', you know?
Right.
And I think I texted E that day and was like, get me out of here. Cause he was like, if you ever want to get out of here, Just let me know. I'll reach out to some people at some other brands and see what they got.
Okay.
And I texted Ian. I was like, bro, remove me from this satanic space. And I think his response back to me was like, just be patient. You know, he's like, if you really want to, I will, but you know, just be patient. Give it a couple more weeks. And I didn't know that behind the scenes, some people were actually working to put me into, to help me fill in, or to have me fill in for a position while somebody went out of town for the holiday. But he knew because he was on that team, but I didn't know that.
Right.
But man, like, I think I quit 3 times and like just never left. But I for real, told the manager straight up, yo, I'm out.
Yeah.
I just got to put my 2 weeks in. I just didn't. But man, I quit like 3 times, bro.
I mean, that's just tough, bro.
Yeah. How many times did you quit
Quit what?
football? Were you like, I'm done? Did that ever happen? Because you always were working hard.
Yeah.
Like even when I would see you after I met you, I would see you be like, bro, I'm getting ready. And I'm like, man, this man he works hard.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, did you ever just be like,
There was never a time where I was like, no, I'm done with the game. Like, no, like, fuck the game, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even when I was going through like the tough shit, the adversity and all of that, there always be times where I question, you know, if I get hurt, like I got hurt a ton through high school and through college too. Question just like, why me? You know what I mean? But I never thought about like, oh, this game keeps taking that from me. I enjoyed the game so much that I was just like, you know, I wanted to come back to it. And I understood, this is what I understood. I understood that the game of football takes a lot of your blood, sweat, and tears. It takes a lot from you, like energy-wise, and your body too. Like you're sacrificing a lot, especially when I was playing college football and we weren't getting paid, you know, but it was a conversation about like, you know, these kids making $1 million. We were making nothing and just trying to, you know, pay for rent down in the Bay Area.
trying to eat.
So my whole thing was like, I'm going to pull from the game just as much as it's pulling from me.
Got you.
So that was the closest that I got to like, it was nowhere near like quitting, but it was like, okay, I see that this system might, you know, be fucked up if I allow it to be, but actually it could like empower me if I look at it the right way. Yeah. I also wasn't cleaning
better
up
than me.
the off the wall.
bro, I was cleaning up ditch up quad, bro. Time attack, bro. That was insane.
Yeah, bro. Humble beginnings, bro. Damn. So you go from being a janitor and then you step into a role temporarily,
Yep.
but then you ended up designing a shoe alongside someone, right? That was
That actually happened before I had stepped into that.
that happened as you were still a janitor. You did like a collab design.
Yeah.
How did that come to be?
The guys who worked in the skate department, Nike SB. So remember I was talking about SBs.
Yeah.
So now I'm, you know, cleaning the area of the dudes who work in SB. And I'm like, yo, my brother skates, blah, blah, blah. And I'm talking about like, oh, these are fire. I remember these from this year.
Right.
And I didn't know then that SB wasn't that old. So this is like 2007.
Okay.
SB had really started to, it started in like 02, 03. And it was like in the first couple of years, it just was like not good. The shoes weren't really resonating with people.
Yeah.
They tried to do the Nike thing where they went like super technical and skaters were like, man, I'm just trying to look good.
Yeah.
You know, and so like 04, 05, which is when I was like really getting into sneaker stuff. I was about to graduate high school. You know, that's when I really was paying attention. End of 05, I'm working at the employee store. I meet Keith. I'm starting to really understand what's going on with SB, right? And so now I'm like thinking about the life of like, maybe I want to be a reseller, but like I also hate all this work of like reselling and all that. So I meet the dudes in SB. We're talking, I meet them actually, I took some extra work on like one of the custodial days. Like they were like, hey, we need somebody for this weekend for sales meetings. I was like, sales meetings? I can meet so many people. I'll do it. So I'm taking the trash out. I walk into one of the rooms to take the trash out. There's a wall of SBs on it. And I was like, oh, those look like the team editions from this time. Those look like the J-Rods. These look like blah, blah, blah. And somebody was like, bro, who are you?
Damn.
Right? They're like, what do you even, but they're cool, right? They're skateboarders. So they're like, bro, that's kind of like, who are you? But like, why are you taking trash out?
And all from downloading information, just being part of the sneaker culture.
Being part of sneaker culture, growing up at the skate park, right? Being a sneaker kid, loving basketball. So just like everything that I have done in my life, just like all coming into this moment of me being like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Right. And like this room is cool. There's people who make these decisions. That's cool. Right. And so, you know, they were like, hey, come by the office sometime. I go by the office, realize it's on the other side of the floor from the bathroom. It's on the other side of the floor, in the Mia Hamm building. And I start getting to know the guys who work in skate. Over a course of time, they just were like, hey, you kind of know what you talk. Like I was like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. Let me do a shoe. And they were like, okay. And so then I went, taught myself Illustrator and Photoshop, like a 30-day trial. And presented the custodian pack, and it was a vacuum shoe.
The custodian pack?
Yeah. So it was a vacuum shoe, it was a Windex shoe, and a wet floor shoe.
Oh, that's fire.
Yeah. By this time, I understand that you have to have a pitch deck, right? I'm around my friends I'm around these people at night who are working while I'm the janitor. I'm asking questions.
Yeah.
Right.
You see their computer.
Yeah. Right. And I'm like, oh, what you doing? They're like, oh, I got to work on this deck. I'm like, what's a deck? Right. And they're like, oh, this is a deck. Right. So they start to like show me. So I'm like, okay, by this point, I'm like, I have to build a deck. I have to put my inspiration in on the deck, and then I have to give them the completed thing. Yeah. And things sell better as a pack. So I'm like, now I need to think of 2 other shoes. But the wet floor shoe was the one that I had in my head. Yeah. So I needed to make 2 others.
How'd you know it was the wet floor shoe?
Cause I was mopping. Like I'm just looking at this colorway. I'm looking at the yellow, black, red, and I'm like, I like that. I think it would be cool. And like SB's already doing crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
Right? They're already doing shoes inspired by like chocolate skateboards, by like Heineken, by, events, by places, by materials, colors, right? Like, so they're already kind of doing that kind of stuff. So I'm like, this idea is perfect for this place.
What'd you say the colors were?
Yellow, black, and red. Like the wet floor sign. So like I put that onto
Deadstock, right?
That's what that's why it's the colors of Deadstock.
You know that, right?
Yeah, that's exactly why it's the colors of Deadstock.
Yo, bro, that's crazy.
Yeah. So I present this pack, and they're like, man, this vacuum shoe is stupid. I use like the carpet from the Mia Hamm and my vacuum in the closet. So it's like gray, blue, orange extension cord. So that's what the shoe looks like.
Yeah.
The Windex one, they're like, we're probably gonna get sued for this. But then the wet floor, they were like, kind of cool. And they pitched it. I later found out that there was a shoe that was like a crazy colorway that they had to drop, and they just like snuck it in.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, I found that out like 4 or 5 years later. I was like, oh, that's how that happened. Yeah. But I'm just thankful it happened,
Yeah.
But around that time is when people started to realize that like, oh, this dude's not just a janitor. Like he's really trying to do some stuff. Wow. So, yeah.
Damn.
So like to fast forward, when I first started Deadstock, I didn't really know what the colors were. We were doing a lot of Nike color, orange, the like Nike shoebox, and like some Adidas equipment, like the brown and teal, but we didn't have our own color. And, that question of how did you get there? Or like you had a shoe, that question comes up all the time.
Okay.
And so for me, people know me because of the shoe most of the time. So if you know me because of that story, that's part of my story.
Yeah.
Deadstock is my story.
Yep.
So in order for us to have our own brand, this is what we needed, our own colors.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was really how that happened, was like, I need to think of what the colors of the shop should actually be.
Wow, bro.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a history lesson
there.
And that, like, I see you walk in with the Deadstock jacket.
So that's why the jacket is, yeah.
And then you're talking about the wet floor shoe.
Yeah. And even the drip
whip. The light bulb go off in my head, like, oh,
yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. And even the car, right? Like the shop used to be like brown and like mocha, like coffee colors, because I didn't want it to be an all white shop with like stale walls. I felt like that's what all coffee shops are, like sterile, like the third wave, like specialty coffee. I didn't want that. And so the walls were like brown and this and that. And then when I decided back in like 2018 or 2019 to really like lean into the colors.
Okay.
I think it's 2019. We like painted the shop white.
Yeah.
Counter went black.
Yep.
Yellow, red accents all over the place, right? And in basketball, not so much anymore, but the light or white jersey is always home. So when we were working on the car, the drip whip, the car was black because it's away.
Because it's away.
Yeah. So like it's always, I mean, there's like stuff in there. This is actually what inspires me, right? I have to find moments for me to get excited.
Yeah.
Every day is just like work, right? But there's like things that I'm sitting there thinking and I'm like, what if I just like made a car that drove around, and served coffee? I think that's when I met you. That's why I was in Houston.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was on tour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Tipping.
Yeah.
The man.
That's exactly the reason why I was in Houston.
That's right. But I had known about you before that.
Oh man,
obviously, you know what I mean? Like Deadstock Coffee, I was very aware of
I
like,
appreciate
who you
that.
were, but it's funny because the story, like I've heard roughly that story in the past when it's like, oh yeah, Ian Williams, he used to work at Nike and he started his own coffee shop. That's like the tagline.
Yeah, that's
right? It's like, oh, he used to work at Nike? And then maybe someone's like, yeah, he started as a janitor and then he was a designer and then he left.
Oh, you start to get like pieces.
Yeah, just pieces of it, bro. And it's like in passing and somebody maybe mentions that and it's not like, oh, let me double click like he was a janitor? How did he get the footwear designer position? And then how did he leave and go to Deadstock? And then the colors of Deadstock, So now you're like connecting all of these things for me, which was tough to do even in like research.
Yeah.
Because to my research about you, I'd known you now for years. But I mean, it's cool to hear the arc of your story. Obviously there's, it's not over, but up to this point, what's inspiring to me is the way that at every moment you've decided to pursue a passion. And even when that passion, maybe, you had to put your ego to the side. You rather was no ego involved and like, you know what, I want to get deeper into the Nike World headquarters. So I'm going to go and be a janitor because I want to get in there. And I have the confidence that I'll figure it out, figure something out.
Yeah.
When you were working at the car dealership, I like Cadillac Escalades, so I'm going to go and like sell it,
Yeah.
And I think that's, it's a beautiful thing. And it's a courageous thing to take steps to be like, I'm passionate about this and I'm going to actually like go and do it. Right. Because it's easy to be passionate about something, much harder to like orient your life to go and pursue that thing, which then obviously like, you end up leaving Nike at a point and doing the same thing at Deadstock. Fast forward 10 years, sitting here now and you're still pursuing those passions.
Yeah. Still, it's still same OG, man.
Yeah. And we're back with another episode of B-Scar TV, and we are in Deadstock 2, talking to my guy Ian Williams, and we're seeing how culture, community, coffee, don't forget the sneakers, are all wrapped into a space. Check it out.
So I grew up out this way. We moved to Oregon when I was 10. Hillsboro, Beaverton is where we came to.
Right.
And so a lot of people have always been like, I don't really know about Beaverton. Like, why would you guys move to the burbs? But to me, the burbs has always been tight. Give you a little walkthrough, just like a quick, it don't gotta be too crazy.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, mochas are what we do, but it's mainly because of the stencil. So the way that we started was that we would put the stencil on mochas because it's chocolate powder.
Yeah.
But it was always just that, I don't know, it's just like a good, nice all-around beverage too. I like it, man. I like it.
Let's do a mocha.
All right.
Come on. Y'all see the detail?
But
Look at the details.
Yep.
Hold on.
And the puck press is the industry wrist saver. So yep, go ahead and throw it back in there. Then we just gonna let those shots pull.
Damn.
It's all right, man. You're gonna get there one day. This is, years of, you good. I don't got them football hands.
I'm a little uncomfortable
That's
back
all right,
here.
push it. Shot.
Okay.
In the cup. But it's like in the third off. You want the milk to rotate. Add air. You see how like right now it's kind of like, it looks really flat. Mm-hmm. If you rotate it around, now it looks like wet paint, right? So you'll go high. When mixing the milk and espresso together, low, lay the milk on top, back up high. Okay?
Then I'm about to go low.
Then you're gonna go low, lay your cup a little bit.
Okay.
And then as you pour, you're gonna stand the cup up. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta go high again.
Yeah.
Bro,
Those,
I ain't get that,
I
man.
know. Go.
Yeah, come on now. Hey,
Yeah, come on.
what's that? Look like I already got a shoe. I already got an Air Force on there.
Got a 1, a 3, got a little question up there.
Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Look at that.
Hey, let's
Look at that.
go.
You pretty much, hey.
How hands-on are you in the design of the store and like the layout? How hands-on were you?
Extremely. Like, Deadstock 1 is like, you know, high school bedroom, I guess. But for the second location, we wanted it to feel more like we have age, like we're grown up, we understand a bit more. You know, I said like that's high school bedroom. This is, you know, you got a job and you start making a little bit of money. You want to show somebody.
Right, I got you. So it's your first apartment. You paying rent?
Yeah. Yep, you paying rent. You know, but you got money, right? So you're not eating ramen.
Yeah.
You know, you still might not be eating crazy. So we wanted it to feel like that, but also being in Beaverton, next to Nike, and people come to Portland in order to seek out the like sneaker culture, but also just like, you know, we got plants, right? We got like more space. We got, you know, to open up retail even a bit more. Just the learnings from Chinatown into like what is happening in the industry right now. I just don't want like a clean, sterile white space. So when we walked in, I was like, I need the wall, the background to be like a deep color, a warm color, and like a neutral.
Yeah.
For like this is the then, right? Like the wet floor was then. As I started to think about like an elevated neutral, right? Like the one is timeless silhouette, but also like this cream is a neutral color.
Right.
This burgundy is like a nice grounding color that can go with green, it can go with blue, it can go with other reds. And the details of this shoe, you know, the wax laces and the chrome lace tips and the quilted lining, and you know, this has been worn a few times, so like it's worn down, but like if we talk about something being DS or Deadstock, we talk about the condition of the stars. So if it's brand new, you could be like, oh, it's DS 100% stars, right? Like, so this is like, you know, maybe in DS 80% stars.
You gotta explain this.
So DS, you know, if you look at the stars on here, they're like
yeah, okay.
crispy, right? But if you look here, they're worn down.
They're worn down.
So when we are talking about like the condition of a shoe and you're like selling or trading, you would say that it was like DS unworn, 100% stars.
If it's 100% stars.
Yeah, 100% stars, right? Like unworn. So like if you touch it, you're like, oh, the stars are, When I was talking to the homies at Miracle Sign about what I wanted the counter to look like, I wanted it to be inspired by the outsole of the One or the Dunk or the Air Force One. They're all very similar because they're all designed around the same time with like smaller details between the two. But how do we transfer that into the space? And so if you look at the counterface, the stars
100% stars.
100%.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah. So,
clean, bro.
So like, but as time goes on and people touch them, they'll wear down, right? Same thing like with the pivot point being a really big detail. But you know, we had to drop the logo in the pivot.
Right.
And so even like this texture is the texture from the, like on the empty space.
Yeah.
You know, again, going back to the shoe, right? So like the full suede wrap, like this is for real, a big hide of leather. And then the quilting on the side panels, you know, to really match the sneaker, right? But CC Coffee was a lot of inspiration for me when I was building Deadstock at first, because it was a great example of like, this is a coffee shop, but this is also a space for people who do motorcycle things. And so, you know, one of those details for CC was that their counterface was like the tread of a bike.
Okay.
And then here, so they had tread of the bike here.
Okay.
And then their
the tread of like the wheel.
No, sorry, thank you. Yeah, the tread of the wheel.
Yeah.
And that's even actually why these channels are here, because they had the intention to hang a motorcycle and put the wheel in here, right?
This is you. What's up? This a mood board in here.
Yeah, so you know, again, when I first had come into the space, CC had race bills.
Okay.
So it was all like races that they either participated in or that they hosted. So it was all like race flyers all the way. Okay. But when I walked in, I was like, oh, nope, this is gonna be slam ups. as clean as the shop is out there,
Yeah.
for me, this was an important piece to be able to go back to the like bedroom, right?
Right, right.
And it's really dope.
The
'cause
high school bedroom.
The high school bedroom, right?
Okay,
So like
yeah.
every month, new Slam magazine, we tear the middle out.
Yeah.
Blah. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
The man himself.
He's everywhere, dog, everywhere. The people are like, where's all the Blazer ones? I was like, yeah, I definitely forgot. Man, miracle sign, there's my dog.
Let's do it.
Yeah, they.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yep.
Clean.
Yeah, they killed it. And then one of the guys, Pat over at Miracle, he does a lot of stuff with AI. He's been doing design for a really long time. And so he's done a lot of like AI stuff, and he was like, I kind of have an idea, and I wanted to do this free throw line thing, free throw line poster. And we were thinking of different ideas, and then he brought this one to me, and I was like, you know what? I think that's it.
And then you even added some design to the toy.
That actually came from Cece. Because of like the motorcycle inspiration again, they had somebody come in and hand pinstripe the toilets. Yeah. So.
And this is back to the day, back in the day,
Yeah,
like
man,
designer toilet.
Doodoo days, bro. Doodoo days. Designer toilet. Probably one of the next things is gonna be, once the weather gets better, we'll mural this wall. Getting something dope thrown up there, working with, some great artists that both from the city, but also not from the city, and trying to see if I can actually get them to kind of do like a quadrant thing where they meet. So like a little bit of each piece flows into, so I got one that's like really hoop specific, one that's really music specific, one that's really like text, and then another one who's just like a really great designer, but that hasn't done any murals before.
Right.
So
collab piece ends up being a masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
They say when there's a mural on the wall, it's less likely to be vandalized or graffitied on.
Yep.
Because if you're doing graffiti, you're some type of like self-expression, artistry to that.
Hopefully.
But if you don't do that on top of somebody else's artistry,
exactly.
But you see a blank wall, it's like this is a canvas.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to, as we grow more and more, even like outside of Portland, maybe even outside of the U.S.
Where we going?
Listen, you know where we're going. You know exactly where we're going. As we look at that, what does it look like? This is even more the blueprint of what the future of Deadstock can be. What we can do in spaces. We've done a small space, and now we've also done a big space. So if we go where I think we're going, it might be a small space, because that's what they have out there available, is small spaces.
Yeah.
But if we go to some other places that have bigger spaces available, even more grant money opportunity, more opportunity for people who own buildings out there already that we might know.
Yeah. Can we take over the West Coast? Can we start like up and down the West Coast?
Listen, we can start up and down the West Coast of maybe even another country. Listen, don't worry about it, man. We're going.
We're going down to Mexico?
No, we're not going to Mexico, bro.
Where we going?
No, you know where we going. He act like he don't know. Dang. Where's the place that you went to that I also enjoyed?
Are we going to Tokyo?
We definitely going to Japan, bro. Come on, man. Come on, dog. Come on. Look at Mexico. Come on, man.
Hey, man, I heard Mexico City's nice, bro.
Mexico City is nice.
I appreciate you, Ian.
Of course, man.
Ian
Hey.
Weezy. Thank you, brother.
Thanks for coming to the burbs, man.
Hey, and this was a terrific moment.
Oh, good.
Terrific.
Yeah, listen, you made it. I didn't do nothing.
Damn Skippy.
Man.
Cheers, y'all.
Hey, you saw it here first. There are people who I met when I was a janitor who I'm still friends with to this day. There are people who I met when I was a developer, so I was like an engineer. The people who I met when I was a developer who, if I saw them at the grocery store, I might just pass them by. And people who I talk to daily, at work. Because, when I was a janitor, you had to decide to talk to me. You had to decide to be cool with me. You had to decide that I was worthy of conversation, right? But when I was in footwear, I was a peer, right? So I always say, I would jokingly say, people are like, oh yeah, Nike is like high school, like the high school, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, it's like college. There's people, when you're in high school, it's people who are like, oh, I don't like him, right? I don't like her. I don't like this person, whatever. But in college, you're like, listen, I need this A. So I'm gonna work with you, but I don't like you. But I'm gonna work with you because I gotta get this stuff done. I paid for this. I paid for the school, So to me, it is a lot like, I'm gonna work with you because I have to. but not because I want to, right? So yeah, there's people who, I would, and there's definitely people who I worked with when I was in footwear who I'm like super close with. You know, I could call if I was like, yo, my car broke down. Like I need to be picked up from the airport, whatever. And they could call me, you know, but a lot of the people who I'm the closest with are who I met when I was in custodial. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a lot of stories and a lot of theories. My bad. Please know, I stay dipped, bro. Come on. I got the AI swingman under here right now.
Right.
Always. Come on.
Bro, we gotta.
I wear a lot of Iverson jerseys, bro.
I respect it, and it's just the the bottom of it hanging out.
It's all right. It's mainly for me.
Yeah, right.
You know,
It's for you.
It's for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's for me. But yeah. It's mainly and actually, I've only worn this one like 3 times. I bought it for the TED Talk, so I actually was wearing it on the TED stage.
Oh, you were?
Under my
Nice.
And then another time I wore it for another. I can't remember what it was. Another video, and then today.
Damn.
Yeah, I was like, man, let me put my.
Bro, well,
I was like, this man about to pull up with the fit. Like, so I know I had to come correct.
Bro, you're putting the jersey on when it's time to go ball. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
bro,
in like a performance type of like space.
It's like how they said Michael Jordan always wore his UNC the tights under his game shorts.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they say he always had them on, and it was just like his. Yeah, exactly. So for me, this my lucky draws right here.
Lucky draws.
Just like an Iverson, an AI element that just always. It's usually like with me somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm a nerd. One day I'm gonna meet that man.
Bro, so the way
I'm also afraid to meet him.
I've been thinking about it lately is how I'm dressing. Like when I wear a vest, it's like this is my work vest. It's like my uniform.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like on game day or at practice, we always put on our pads and our helmet and the jersey or whatever, and like it's time to go. You lace up the cleats, you got your uniform. So now it's like, what does that look like in my next life, my next chapter?
Mm-hmm.
And so whenever I put the vest on, like, all right, it's time to go.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about Amir and he makes vests, I was like, that gave me an idea, because I have been thinking about I should customize and personalize my vest in a way, since I wear it for those occasions.
Yeah.
So this is like a Ben Davis vest, which is super simple, and I got it for like $25. But I was thinking about replacing this little tag right here with like my personal logo.
Yeah.
Or then maybe like doing an embroidery or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shoot, it'd be cool to do something from scratch.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking about DN is one brand that I really like, who they do like really high quality vests and like handmade stuff. It's like maybe I could do something with them. But Amir would be a cool one to do it with as well.
I think when you have like an element that is part of your identity, and I used to joke on Amir all the time and be like, bro, you always dressed up. And Amir just said, he has something that he says about, his dad just told him to always be prepared. And so for him, like, no matter what, if he's going to a basketball game, a dinner, a, kid's birthday party, he's like, if I'm wearing, if this is what I wear, if I'm always prepared, then I'm good, But then there's also, I would joke on Bima all the time and be like, bro, you like a cartoon character, and a friend of mine, Johnny Cool, local rapper, producer, one time he had a line in one of his joints that was like, something like, that means I never changed like cartoon clothes, and I was like, oh, they don't change.
Yeah, no doubt. Immediately I'm thinking like K. Arnold.
Yeah.
Damn, Gerald, he got that jersey on.
Well, bro, and then there was even an episode of Doug where he opened the closet and it was all the same fit. And I remember that when I was a kid, be like, he wears the same thing all the time. But like, just the fact that like cartoons don't change, and then so I would like jokingly call Beam a cartoon character, but like now right? So you look at, Drake and that album, and he would have a different haircut. He would use that haircut would be his cut until the next album.
Right, yeah.
Right? And and so like that, and like Tyler does that too, like the style that's on the album cover. Yeah. And so like it really is like an identifier. So for me, I've always liked camo. And even when I was trying to figure out what to wear for TED, I was like, I have to wear camo. And so loving camo, which is more of an East Coast thing for me, or to me.
Yeah.
But then growing up in the burbs in Hillsboro, and at that time it was the country.
Yeah.
So like loving camo, growing up in Hillsboro, people hunting and whatnot. For me, tree camo makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
And so from my TED fit, it really was like, I need some camo, but I need some like authentic camo, real tree. I need this. So like for me, it's always been like putting these pieces together. So I don't know how many people have noticed, but like since TED, I've worn, aside from like in the summer, I was wearing shorts, but like I've worn.
So now you're rocking with the
That's
camo.
what I do.
Okay.
But this is like my season.
I like
you know,
that.
so like this.
I like that.
I don't know what's next, but it was like I have to wear camo, and I have to wear a Deadstock article of clothing.
Yeah.
So that people associate all those things together.
Yeah, no, that's good. I've always had these like style evolutions throughout my
I think
life.
everybody does, yeah.
You know what I mean? There's like at some point in time, I just have this inkling, like I got to change it up. And so I'll like, and it typically sometimes it'll come from some inspiration. My most recent one, I was watching Bad Boys, and Will Smith, you know, in Bad Boys was fitted up, bro. And that's like the 90s. He had the vest, but he had like the quarter neck t-shirts. He had maybe like a quarter zip that's like more formal, but you know, Mike Lowry was swag,
bro, head to toe.
And so my most recent style evolution has been tone down the colors a little bit, focus on the details, and get really high quality like black pieces. I'm into black right now. And also I took a trip to Japan over the summertime too, and they do it the best.
It's like place, bro.
Silhouettes. It's like the details in the fit, whether it's the shoes or the bag or the accessory, the ring or the jewelry or whatever it is. Maybe it's the socks. Like, I don't know if you know, but I got the Scarlett sock. You know what I mean?
You know what? Good one. I didn't even
brother.
I didn't even notice. Hey, you know what, man? That's what I'm talking about.
You got the AI.
Hey, bro, and then listen, it's for me, right? Like you said, bro, it's for you. You know?
Exactly.
So yeah, I like that. I didn't even think, bro.
Yes.
My brother.
No, but I also think that it's interesting with the albums. For artists, they have these very specific like milestones, right? Okay, so for this album, I'm going to, whether it's subconsciously or consciously, be and look and feel, and my music is going to be a certain way. And then, okay, album drops. And then it's like intentionally, okay, well, the next thing I drop has to be a little something different. Can't be the same, right? So then how do I change? How does my music change, et cetera, right? With artists, it's more defined than when you're not an artist. And so I feel like for us, it's finding like, what are those milestones that we can create for ourselves? Our internal like life milestones, you know, whether that's for, you know, season to season, right? Or maybe that's like semi-annual, or that's year by year. Like, what are those, you know? And I haven't quite figured it out for myself because they kind of just come sporadically for me. But I like the idea of like giving myself some type of like destination, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You know? So I want to talk about this idea of the way that you've associated two completely different ideas and put them into one.
It's okay.
Took sneakers and you took coffee, and then Deadstock.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. And I think a lot of the really cool things that are created in the world come from like a convergence of two totally separate things. And so, one, I'm curious, like, what was the insight that you had to bring coffee and sneakers together? Number one. And then I'm curious of how you've like promoted both within Deadstock.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, coffee people and sneaker people are nerds, right? We're just we're all just people who who can nerd out. Everybody can nerd out over something. Some people, like I was saying earlier about my brother and his homies, like skateboarding, vinyl, you know, that was like what they were really into. Yeah. And so I just understood that, you know, in working in the forward industry and looking at what the coffee industry was going to be for me, because I actually wasn't even a coffee drinker. I still don't drink coffee. Just understanding that there are groups of people who just really enjoy a thing,
Yeah.
right? And who really enjoy, you know, the community that is around whatever that thing is.
Right.
And so, you know, if you like really expensive cups of coffee, you're like, hey, I'll spend $5, $6, $7 on my coffee for the day, including tip or whatever. And then you have this person who's like, I'll buy a pair of shoes every month for $300, right? The coffee person might look at the sneaker person and be like, you're crazy, right? Like, I can't believe you spend that much money. And so, well, at the end of the month, if we added up, we spent the same amount of money on this thing that we enjoy.
Yeah.
But I always jokingly say, but at the end of the day, also, I get to keep mine and you don't. Right? Like, so like mine can appreciate, mine has, you know, meaning to me,
Right.
or whatever. So it's always been just like the passion for the product. When I was a lot attendant, I was driving the Cadillacs, like I was moving them around, even though I didn't own one, even though I didn't have anything to do with, like at that point I wasn't selling. I just wanted to be around the thing.
Yeah.
Right? It's always, for me, it's just being around the thing, or to be in that atmosphere or in that environment. And so that's what it is like, if you love coffee like that, you're gonna go to the shops that create that environment for you to enjoy it, for you to experience it. If you love sneakers, you're gonna go to the shops that create the environment and that have what you want.
Yep.
Right? Same thing with the coffee, that have what you want.
Yeah.
So it's all about like getting what you want.
Yeah.
You know?
I got
And I don't know how many, I feel like people don't spend as much time focusing on the beauty of getting what you want and more on the in like the way that you like it, and not so much the fact that you like showing off that you have it, but more that you got to experience it.
What you mean?
You've been around the world, right? You probably understand, like when you're in Miami and you go to an event or whatever, a lot of times it's like what you have, right? Like you got the cars, the money, the drinks, the bottle service, right? Like you can't possibly go to the club and not be having a good time if you don't got a table. Right? But like, what if you went to the club and you had a good time and you didn't have a table?
Yeah.
Right? And so I feel like, but like in a way, in those kind of atmospheres, it's not okay. It doesn't mean that means you're not balling, you're not having a good time, you're not doing it right.
Yeah.
But out here, it's more like, I want to be at the club with the people that I want to be with, right? The people that I care, that I want to spend my time with. And so for me, it's like, how do you create that feeling of the people who are there are the people, or the place where you are has the thing that you want. The feeling that you want. Like people talk about retail being dead, but I think retail is dead is like soulless. It's not necessarily dead.
Yeah.
People are still going to buy things. COVID told us that people love to buy things. People love experiences, basketball cards and all the cards and stuff like that. People buying VHS tapes and like, you know, if you were a camera person, you were into cameras before, but now all of a sudden you into all these different cameras and Polaroids and like all this stuff, right? COVID just showed that people love stuff. People love the experience with stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying, of course, you know, we talk about all that everything else that happened during that time, but like, it just showed that, you know, people would get dressed to go out to the coffee shop because it was the one time when they got to leave the house for maybe even the week.
Yeah.
Because they got to go out and actually express themselves. This place means enough for me to go risk my life. And a lot of people really thought that they were going to die if they went to these places, right? So I'm down to get dressed, get out of the house, you know, and I hope that somebody sees my fit. I'm gonna go get what I want, and then I'm
friends.
hopefully see some friends, right? And like even during COVID, it was important for me to never close the door. I never wanted to serve people on the other side of the door. I always wanted people to be able to come in because it was about being together.
Yeah.
Even if it was just me and a customer, or the customers who met outside, who walked from here and here and met, you know, so it to me, retail, all that stuff is about the experience. It's less, even if it's a quick interaction, it should be about the experience.
Yeah. I like that. That's interesting. I think,
I get passionate about that kind of stuff.
no, for sure.
Yeah.
I like the juxtaposition between Portland and Miami, right? Like Miami maybe is a lot about what you have and being able to show off what you have. it's also maybe there's some instance of like what you want, but actually what you want has a lot to do with what you have and what you're able to show off.
Yeah.
Versus in Portland, it's not as much about what you have. It's about, expressing what you want to express. And for a retailer or an entrepreneur or a business or whatever, being able to create the space where you can serve what people want, and what they want is actually just enough, right? And like getting to the core, to the fundamental like essence of what they want, which, community, some good coffee, like the opportunity to get outside. I think Portland has done a good job of that in my mind, because we focus on the little things.
Yeah.
We want the coffee to be good. We want the beer to be, high quality.
Yeah.
We're down to go like thrift through some pieces and like find a piece of, vintage clothing that we like. And so you see thrift stores popping all over. It's not about like, oh, this thing cost, $1,000 or whatever. It's about like, oh, this is something that I want, and that's enough.
Yeah.
It's about wearing the Allen Iverson jersey underneath the crew neck sweater. Nobody's gonna see it, but that's what I want.
That's what I
You know
want.
I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's a whole energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will also say that's the beauty of of Portland. All the things that we just explained is to be able to do that and like merge communities and merge cultures and for people to understand and appreciate what you love and what you do is what you love and do. I think we also do that to a fault as well. And there are a lot of times that we won't listen to people. We won't understand where somebody's coming from because we feel like we ride so much for this community over here, and this is the movement. I feel like we subscribe to brands a lot, the brand of, injustice, the brand of, and I'm not saying that these things are wrong or anything like that. I'm just saying that it's not always exactly what we think it is, and I feel like we get so stuck on fighting that we don't know what we're actually fighting for. Right. And so, I don't really want to tie it to any specific thing because I think both sides do it.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's not enough. We're doing a great job. We're doing a great job doing the work. Now we have to, like you said, like you did your research, right? Like a great speaker once told me a long time ago, I sat in his office, a person I wanted to sit in front of, talk for a long time. I sat in his office and I sat down and he was like, I already know everything about you. He went down, you're from Newport News, Virginia, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, man, this dude is here in career. Why does he know everything about me? And he was like, you always got to know your audience. He's like, whether it's 1 or 10,000. And so like we are doing the research, but are we looking under the pages of the stuff that we also wouldn't usually look at, right? You got to look everywhere. Even if you don't agree with this, you need to understand it, right? You need to understand why somebody does feel the way that they feel or think the way that they think. Yeah. And then you make your decision,
right?
Yeah.
100%. I mean, as a city and as a country.
As a city, as a country, as people, as a world, right? Like there's so much. Yeah.
There's a lot of layers to it, bro. It's like once you start to believe a certain type of way or think something, we have now all of these mechanisms and devices that actually start to like stamp that belief and tell you like, you're right.
Yeah.
And nothing else is wrong.
Yes.
Right. So the TV channel you begin to watch, the algorithm that starts to build up in your Instagram, on your TikTok, on your Twitter.
Yeah.
You only see people that subscribe to the same beliefs that you just subscribe to. Mm-hmm. And so you get stuck in this bubble of like, oh, I'm right. We're all right here together.
Yeah.
Whoever's outside this bubble, they got to be crazy. But on the other side, they in their own bubble with the same thing.
We literally just saw that 50% of the people out here more than 55% of the people out here think this. And there's, 45% over here who are like, I can't believe blah, 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 right? And these people over here, I can't believe, we just saw that, right? So when you're looking at something and you're like, there's no way that somebody could think that. No, they literally just told you that they've been thinking about that. You just don't listen, and so, I think that happens so much,
Yeah.
And it happens a lot
Right.
in this city,
Yeah.
you know? Even like just get outside of Portland and you get to like the outskirts a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Now Portland Metro is kind of all feeling the same, but like we got a lot of country. We got a lot of farmers. We got a lot, right? Like they got different views than we got.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean their view is right or wrong, right? It doesn't mean ours is right or wrong. So,
Right.
yeah, man.
Yeah.
I could go on forever about just, I think just people understanding people is the thing that I just have the hardest time with. And creating common ground is what I strive to do at all times in some sort of way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love the way that you've done it.
Thank you.
Right. With Deadstock Coffee. And again, bringing sneakers and coffee together to ideas that exist, you know, two different spaces, but bringing them together, bringing coffee heads and sneaker heads under one roof to discuss,
We try.
you know, ideas and have a time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how you have brought sneaker culture into coffee culture, like just like tangible things. Like what have you done with Deadstock to kind of differentiate in that way?
I appreciate that question more, not that I didn't appreciate the previous one. I appreciate that more because that is what I feel like I have brought to coffee culture that is different.
Coffee should be dope.
Coffee should be dope, right? Like it should be whatever you want it to be. I think that's the coolest thing about sneakers is a lot of the reason why I started Deadstock is because I missed the community around sneaker stuff.
Okay.
Everything went digital, right? Sneakers app and you know, you gotta get in the, you know, launch lines online and like get queued up and like all this kind of stuff, right? Everything goes digital.
Yeah.
Everything is like, you know, geo fence. Are you in the, you know, then you can have access to this thing online. But I missed being in line with this group of people who I don't really know. I don't actually know. I might know their Nike Talk name or their ISS name. I know that they don't wear my shoe size so that they're not in front of me, right? But like this line of people who I see every week, every other week, every month, kids, you know, Jordans were used to release on Thursdays. They had to switch it to Saturdays because kids were skipping school, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's how serious this thing is, right? Up to some people. So Saturday morning, the homie's leaving from the club, still drunk, probably shouldn't have drove here, right? The high school kid who, you know, gotta have the newest Kobe, the plumber, the lawyer, we're all in line. You know, the girl who braid hair, right? Like we're all there, right? Because we all love this thing. And so for me, that was what I wanted, was like, I want all those people to be able to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And talk about, because while we're in line, we're all appreciating, we're not talking about shoes the whole time. Right. We know, we here for Jays, bro. We here for Kobe's. We here for LeBron's.
Yeah,
right. Like you got those, cool. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. We might talk about shoes for like 5 minutes, 20 minutes. We're there for 5 hours. We're talking about life. But I still don't know your name. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like so personal over like a thing that we enjoy. And so for me with coffee, it was like, how do we make this the same version of personal, right?
Yeah.
But how do we make this more personal for my community or people who look like me, people who want to understand things the way that I want to understand them.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, I'm making product. Sneakers are product. Coffee is product. Car stuff is product. Right. It's like at the end of the day, the skateboard, the records, it's all stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, how do we interact with stuff? How do we find like the right way to interact with the stuff? And like for coffee, for sneakers, like it gets shipped to your house and you can wear them wherever. But it's like really cool if you got the story of how you went and got them. For coffee, you can get it shipped to your house, but it's like really cool if you get to go, if somebody's making it for you, get to experience it. So for me, it was always just like bringing the passion for sneakers, the same energy, you know, but the way that we do the energy, you know, and so, you know, somebody who was already doing coffee stuff, you know, leather vest, twirly handlebar mustache, you know, like they got their own version of the energy, right? But like that's not my energy, right? And so, you know, like I started to understand slowly that there were also people who look like me out there who are kind of doing some coffee stuff.
Yeah.
Then I found out about David
Yeah.
and Boudreaux, right? When I first was like learning about Tipping Point, I found out about the homie Twiz, who at the time was in Ohio still, who had just moved to Houston. And I started to find out about like other roasters who were like, you know, other black roasters. I found out about Michelle Johnson, who was down in LA, like from Phoenix. And I started to look around and I'm like, oh, we're out here. We're just not here.
Right.
We're just not talking about it, you know? And so I was like, I'm trying to do what everybody else is doing. So, you know, but then it's like, from sneakers, we like rare things, we like special stuff. So it's like, okay, what does it look like if we make a shoe?
Yeah.
Right? Like, what does it look like what does our merch look like? You know, what is our coffee mugs? What is our music when we're playing in the shop?
Yeah.
What does the atmosphere feel like? Right? So for me, I'm like, I want to take a barbershop because that's where we go to get our information a lot of times or to get validated.
Right.
Right? You going on a date, you going to, hey, I'm gonna need a cut, dog.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you used to get me right. While you're in there for your 2 hours, for your 30-minute haircut, you're getting validation, you're getting information, you understanding what's happening in the neighborhood, right? Or like what's going on in the city or whatever.
Yeah.
But then you're also like looking good, right?
Right.
You leave, you feel better, all that kind of stuff. And then when you go to the sneaker shop, you're in there because you want this thing. And you're looking for the thing that's gonna like make the fit right.
Right.
You're looking for you want to talk to the homies. You want to be able to have something that somebody else don't got. So like I wanted to bring that feeling into the coffee space.
Yeah.
And I think I've been able to do it pretty well. I still don't think that I've done it to the best of my ability.
Yeah.
But I think I'm on the way.
Well, I love how you've done it is like there's a lot of self-expression that's come into Deadstock through your unique perspective, through your community's unique perspective. You know, I remember the first time of like, you know, when you think about Deadstock or see Deadstock, you see like the Air Force One, like,
Oh yeah,
foam, you know, on the top with, I don't know, the cinnamon or however you guys do that. And then you're able to get different shoes, you know, so you've innovated, you know, in the coffee world by bringing your perspective to it. Like the menus, right? I know you got like the names of the drinks are influenced by sport, by sneakers.
Yep.
And you just mentioned all the different merch and the jacket that you came in with, and all the collaborations and stuff. But for the menu, can you drop a couple of the names of the drinks?
Yeah, I mean, supposedly LeBron's favorite drink is the Arnold Palmer. There's a shoe that got street named the LeBron Palmer. So it was a LeBron 9, I believe, that was colored up like shirts that Arnold Palmer used to wear when he was golfing. So when I was making a drink that was coffee and sweet tea, because I'm from the South, so like sweet tea is what we do. One day I was drinking one, I didn't want to drink the whole thing. I had some lemonade in the refrigerator, so I cut it. I'm like, oh, it's like Arnold Palmer, so whatever. Take a sip, I was like, bro, what is this? And instantly I was like, this drink is called the LeBron Palmer, right? And so, but that's from like years of sneaker stuff, right? Like knowing these stories of LeBron's love for the you know, for Arnold Palmers, right? Or like for that drink, the sneakers, all those things come together. I tasted. I'm like, oh, this tastes like this moment, right?
You, bro.
And so, but then also like Zero Chill, named after Dame Lillard, you know, from when he hit the joint on the Rockets, right? And you know, because he got ice in the veins and he was number 0, you know, and or the letter O or whatever, you know, just like thinking about the moments in going to games, right? And how the O and the 0 have always been in his life, you know. And then like when Gucci got out of jail and I wanted a purple drink. First, I actually made it when Prince died. And it was like just like a purple, like a sparkling lavender lemonade.
Okay.
When Gucci got out, we did it, I renamed it the Gucci. And so it still is named the Gucci at the shop to this day. But then like Universal Music a while ago hit us up to do something with Metro. And we made a drink for him. And so we took the Gucci and we added this, I was in Japan one time and tried this chili pepper that numbs your mouth, the Budo Sancho chili pepper. And so we put we did it with blackberry to make it like more purple, and put the chili pepper in it, and it kind of tastes like lemongrass.
Okay.
So it was like blackberry lemongrass, bubbly, but also like numbs your mouth.
Wow.
But served in a double cup, it looks like something else, right? Like, and so so we just call it the I think we just call it the Metro Boomin. Like, and that was right. And so, we've always just done things like that make sense to what we do.
Yeah.
Right. And to our detriment, sometimes customers come in and they start to rename things based off of, but it's because also like we have no menu. Right? Like, you talk about the menu, but there actually is no menu.
Oh, I didn't know.
The whole thing is a menu. Your experience, like,
Right.
people come in, they're the first thing people are looking around. We're like, we actually don't have a menu. We just make you whatever you want. And people are like, I know you ain't got this, and we're like, we got that. Or do you want us to just make something for you? When they ask, like, how are you feeling? What are you feeling? Like, I want something cold. Okay. I want something fruity. Okay. Like this kind or like this? You want sour or do you want sweet? Do you want, and we just kind of like craft the way that you are gonna experience our stuff, and you get to experience it the way that you want to.
That's fire. I love it, man. I love it. I've been thinking, for me, thinking deeply on community, as we're building Big Yard, and, trying to figure out where Big Yard's space is, or continuing to define what Big Yard does, but also defining what I do personally, right? What does this podcast exist for? What's the creative agency exist for?
Yeah.
All these different things that I find myself spending my time in. And oftentimes it comes back to community. And I've been spending time in trying to define what community actually is, because it could easily become a buzzword, right? Like, we've said community probably, more times than we could count in this conversation. Like, what does it actually mean, right?
Yeah.
Because Joe Schmo up the street could also be talking about community.
For sure.
And so, as far as I've gotten, is community is the people, it's the place, and the culture, in my mind.
Okay.
And if those are kind of like the three pillars of community, and you're assisting or empowering one of those things, then you're giving back to our community. If you're empowering all three, then you're triple bottom line. You're hitting it out of the park. Right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm thinking, as you're like talking about Deadstock, and you're talking about people coming in and having an experience and having a space, you're empowering the people. You're in Old Town, right? You haven't left from Old Town, which Old Town in Portland, for those who don't know, is, that's a downtown, but it's a rough area because, there's a lot of folks who are dealing with addiction, and there's a lot of vandalism that goes on down there. Old Town's got its own thing, but because Deadstock is there, you're empowering a place. And then you have this sneaker culture and coffee culture that has all come together, and you're, creating that. And so, thank you.
I appreciate that.
For empowering our community and inspiring our community, right? And I'm glad that we've been able to have you on the show with B-Scar TV, because this is actually exists to inspire community. This is for community as well. For whoever listens and watches out here and hears your story, hopefully they're inspired.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah.
They can like define what their success looks like, as you've given, that game, define what their success looks like and what their passions are, and feel confident that they can go and pursue those because they've heard the Dookie stories. You know what I mean? They heard about you cleaning the Dookie up.
Man, I feel like the Dookie stories might have to be my... Hey, tell me the worst story about your career. Like I feel like that's like I'm about to be in the street.
You might need to have like a little content series.
Man, I might. That's what I'm saying. Dookie stories is real, man.
Etumbo's Dookie stories.
Come on, no. Then come on, man.
Oh man,
Dookie should be dope. Dookie could be dope. It could be.
You can innovate that space when you're ready, man.
Man, I don't know if I'm ready. I still got PTSD.
I bet. Like that.
Bro.
Well, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Sam.
That's our time for today.
I appreciate it.
You spending the time.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks to all y'all in here.
Yep.
It's a lot of. I don't think people understand how much work this kind of stuff is, man. So
We got a great team.
yeah, you got the
RB, Etai, Shawnee. Yeah.
yeah. People don't get it,
Come on.
you know. So yeah,
Yeah.
But the people, hey, people, y'all need to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Another episode of B-Scar TV, y'all. Till next time. Peace.
Leave us a review. Drop a comment. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? Who do you want to hear from? We would love to hear from you.